Hello everyone, welcome to the video. Today I want to talk about the AUR, which is the Arch User Repository. So let's start from the beginning. Software repositories, the way I see them is that they're the main identity of a particular distribution. I would say they're probably one of the main reasons for a distribution to exist. And what the repositories do is they serve as a as a collection of software that the the maintainers of the distro expect their users to need to use. Basically, usually as well, the software is there broadly to further the goals of the distribution or to certainly complement the identity of the distribution. So, for example, you would have Ubuntu repositories. Now they maintain multiple different repositories per each version of the distribution that they release. So let's say you have 2204, which is the long-term service version that has just reached end of life, I believe. Now that we have 2404, now each of those repositories, each of those versions of the distribution have their own repositories that when you type apt-get install, that's what it's pulling from, right? So these repositories have a certain locked version of all of the software that has been packaged up by the maintainers and put in there ready for the users to use. These versions are kind of locked at a certain point, a certain stable point for all of them. All of this software has been packaged in a way to match the philosophy of a long-term service long-term support distribution, in that it's supposed to be a snapshot of near perfect stability, right? So something you can use for 2 years and know that pretty much everything is just going to stay the same. And so the repositories reflect that. Then when a new version comes out, that will use its own repository that may have different versions of these bits of software. That's roughly kind of how that works with Ubuntu. Obviously, you have security updates, but the kind of the core releases are there, and that is the plus and the negative of distributions like Ubuntu, Debian, and all of their children. For a distribution like Arch Linux, which is, I would say, the maybe the poster child of the rolling release, which is a release that does not have set or a rolling distribution that does not have a set release pattern. It exists and it gets the latest software pretty much straight away. So the main repositories on Arch Linux, Core and Extra, they operate in a way where a piece of software is updated. This piece of software has gone through a process of being selected by maintainers to be part of the repository. But when it's updated, the new version is packaged up, is tested, and is released. And this usually happens within a week of the new version. You're always getting the new versions. This matches the identity of Arch. The AUR, I would say, it's the third level. You've got Core, Extra, then AUR. AUR is almost like that philosophy ramped up to its natural kind of conclusion. It is software that is packaged up by anyone in the community. Anyone who wishes to package software can do so with the AUR with very little effort. And it doesn't go through anything other than, I believe, the most rudimentary kind of security checks and scanning before it is put out there ready for anyone who uses Arch to grab and compile if needed and install. So you may have a situation where there's a piece of software that is not in Arch's main repositories. It could be very new, it could be a little bit obscure, but someone wants it there. Someone wants a reliable way of getting it, so they package it up, put it in the AUR, and then it's there. And you can anyone can search the AUR in various different ways and get it. At some point, that might get promoted up to Extra. The Extra repository, which is the official Arch repository, that is the method in which most packages, that is the life cycle of most packages. They will start in the AUR and go up there. But another thing could be, or another way that AUR is used, is that there could be a particular piece of software that is quite fast moving, and I would maybe say something like a window manager like Hyperland, or a desktop environment like Cosmic, which I'm using at the moment. They have tagged releases that the extra repository will publish whenever a release is tagged in GitHub or GitLab or wherever they're hosted. The extra repository will grab that, test it, put it out. The AUR version, someone has put together basically packages that read straight from the Git repository. So if I was to say, well, I will show you an example of this with a Cosmic package later. But if you were then to get that package at any point, you want to run the installer for the Hyperland package that's in Git, it will grab whatever the latest commit is, the hottest of the hottest, the latest of the latest, compile it and install it. And so it's a way of you having an extra spicy version of something that is in the official repository. So those are the two main use cases there. And obviously there is a reason why Arch evangelists will talk your ear off about this thing, because it is really intoxicating. It's really powerful. But there are things to consider. And the reason I kind of started thinking about this and wanted to make a video about it was a particular reply to a YouTube video that I watched a little while ago. And it was a video that was one of my first time that it kind of clicked to me what the AUR was and how useful it was. But this video purely showed you how to use the AUR through a helper program called Yay. Now this helper program is great. I will show you how it's used with the AUR, as I will also show you the manual way of doing things. But there was a comment on this post, on this video, that basically said you should not be using the AUR with a helper program. You should just be never using a helper program. To be fair to this commenter, I believe the reason that they said that, even though they didn't really give much extra information about why they meant that, the reason for this is that there is an inherent insecurity with the AUR on two levels. There's stability. So if you're just using Yay to install a package and you don't fully understand that what you're installing is something that's literally just had a commit 5 minutes ago, you might be installing something that's totally broken, and maybe you wouldn't understand why that happened, and so that can affect your experience. Maybe this person was concerned about that. Maybe they were concerned about actual security. So because this is a user repository, really anyone can kind of submit anything. And the way the make package files work, the files that basically power the installation process, you can kind of put what you want in there within reason, and you could cause some damage. So maybe this person, was concerned that if people are relying on programs like Yay, then that could happen to them. If I was being less kind, I would say this person is probably a frustrated Arch user that wishes they were patient enough to use Gentoo and want to pretend that Arch is as impressive as Gentoo, and keep some of the mystique that is pointlessly surrounds Arch. So with all that waffle in mind, let's install something from the AUR manually, as the Arch gods intended. So moving across here, to start with, what we want to be doing is going to the website, the Arch, it's aur.archlinux.org. This is where we're grabbing basically everything from our basic information, browsing around, to actually getting the files themselves. We can search for any particular package. So I'm pretty sure if I say search GIMP, I know that GIMP is got a bit of a split release at the moment. It has its version 3 and its older version 2. So it's probably bad example because there's quite a lot of extra stuff here. But let's see. Yeah, GIMP Git here is a good example. This is basically, if we installed this would give us, I'm pretty sure this would give us the most recent version. It might even be the most recent version of 2, but I don't think so. I think this would give us the most recent version of 3. So we can start to scroll around just like we would on the regular Arch repository website. Actually, it's pretty much laid out exactly the same. Here we can see the maintainer that has uploaded this, and this would be the first area maybe that you would start to look at. Remember, what we're doing at the moment, we're installing something really as like in the most secure way you possibly could do with the AUR. So, for example, this GIMP Git, we can have a look at this user. You can start to see how many other packages they've got. They've got a lot. Like, this is a power user of the AUR. They're packaging up quite a lot. Usually, this means they're pretty safe. They're pretty safe. They've let a few get out of date. Maybe that's something that is important to you because you're going to want to be constantly keeping things up to date, especially on extremely rolling packages that are coming straight from the repository. But you can basically get a good idea about how this maintainer kind of works. If you're happy with that, then you can move on to the next step. What I'm going to do is I'm going to install a piece of software from the Cosmic desktop. So if I was just to search now, we can see all of the Cosmic packages. Now, the Cosmic desktop is something that's been built currently by System 76, the Pop OS people. It's what I'm using right now on my laptop, on my main machine. I absolutely adore it. It's fantastic. A lot of people wouldn't agree necessarily, but I love it to bits. And a good example of kind of the AUR in action, really, and I would say maybe this is peak AUR usage, is that Cosmic have currently they have a monthly alpha release cadence, which essentially is them just tagging all of their different repos with a different alpha number. When that happens, that gets tested and goes into the AUR extra repository, the official one. And so people can have a monthly refresh with all of the new updates. The thing with that is, for someone like me who has a bit of an illness when it comes to pre-release software, if there's something I really like, I kind of don't mind being on the kind of the bleeding edge of it, with all of the pluses and minuses that you get with that. So for someone like me, I actually use the Git versions that have been packaged up by various people, mainly this person here. So you can, I mean, every day if you wanted to, run an update on all of these and get the most up-to-date commits, and there's commits happening every single day. The things are moving incredibly quickly with Cosmic and libcosmic, which is their GUI front end, much like libadwaita. Things are moving so fast that it's kind of worth doing that. And to demonstrate this, there's a package called Cosmic Player somewhere within here. Here it is. Now this has not got a tagged release yet. I don't believe this is in the extra repository because it's incredibly bare bones. It kind of does the job, but not quite. But it will be their media player. It will be the Cosmic Desktop's media player. The thing is that it's very, very, very new. They announced this along with Alpha 4, I believe, last month. And said it's nowhere near ready, but this is the next thing we're building. And within a few hours, someone had gone to the GitHub, got it, packaged it up into the AUR, so people could start playing with it. So we're gonna do that basically. So let's go through the process of just making sure that this is all going to be legit. Cosmicplayer.git. First start, it's this person here that has packaged up almost all of these Cosmic packages. pretty sure we can trust this person. But again, you can go through, see what their name is, see that we've got a pretty real looking email address. There's a lot of accountability here. They've got a GitHub page that you can check, and you look at the packages and you can see like there's some pretty kind of big ticket stuff that they maintain here. No reds as well, at least on this first page, so that looks good. No one's flagged their packages as out of date, which is very important, I would say. So that's great. We're happy with that. So we'll go through to Cosmic Player Git. Now we can kind of see the meat of it here. Every package, and this is true of any packaging system, they have an upstream URL. Now this upstream URL would either, usually, roughly speaking, point to a repository itself, which in this case it does here. So we'll just pop over to GitHub, and it just points straight to the repository. This means that the most recent commit, which was 3 days ago, that's what we're going to be pulling when we install this package. The upstream is like bleeding edge, the most up to date it could possibly be without reaching in and grabbing it from the coders' PCs before they've even committed. This might have a link to a tarball, which would be a tagged release. Usually from GitHub, I would say, but when someone who's maintaining a project on Git is kind of ready to put a pin in a particular point and say, okay, this is version whatever, they can tag it up, and then there's a nice URL, there's a nice tarball that can be linked to a package manager, and that will keep. Doesn't matter when you install it, it will install that version until the upstream URL is updated. Which is how exactly how official repositories would work. This is something that I would say is unique to a user maintained repository like the AUR or equivalents on other distributions, because this is by no means unique to Arch. It's just a particularly good example of it. So again, we can do our due diligence here. This is the upstream URL. We know this is where our code's coming from. Take a look. Make sure it looks good to you. If you are happy, then you continue. And yeah, keep going basically. And here we go. We've got our git clone URLs here. So we only need to read. We don't need to do anything other than grab the files that we need to install. So I'll just copy this and we'll get going with it. Copy the link, go over to our massive terminal, and I'm going to go into, so I'm in my home directory. I like to put things that I'm getting from the AUI, if I'm doing it manually, into software, git clone, and then just paste that in there. Just make sure that, do a sense check there, and we'll grab it. So now let's take a look at this. Now that came in quite quick. And that's because it's not actually downloaded the software. It's just given us the metadata, essentially. And package build here is the file that we really want to focus on. So I'm going to take a look at package build. This is what is going to run when we go to make the package. A lot of this information is stuff that was on the AUR page itself, but in its source form, basically, this is what Mark Waggy, the maintainer, has provided here. Basic stuff. Again, just make sure that the upstream URL is what you expect it to be. Make sure you're happy with the license. We then go through the dependencies. When it's installed, we will be passing a particular flag to the make package command, which tells it to just grab these. Any dependencies here, we'll grab these first, install them, make sure you've got it, and then carry on. The make dependencies are not dependencies that are needed to run the program, but they are there in case you need to compile the program. So with the AUI, you may have binaries that are just being installed. They tend to be from tagged releases. If you're pulling straight from Git, you are going to be compiling the software, and therefore make dependencies will also be pulled before the main process is done, which is which is lovely. You know, it's very easy to understand. You know exactly, this is basically the list of everything that this script is going to install on your computer. Are you happy with this list? Yes, then carry on. We have various other bits. I apologize. The URL up here is not the upstream that will be installed. It is the source here, and this is the upstream that will be installed. SHA-256. So this is useful for, you know, if you've ever downloaded a Linux ISO, which I'm assuming you have, any static zip or tarball or anything, you know, anything static, you know, can be turned into a hash that you can then run through your own hash program, as long as it's the same hash algorithm, and just check they match. Basically means that it hasn't been tampered with on the server or in transit when you were downloading it. You can't really do that with Git repositories. It's another reason why doing this, installing packages direct like this, is a tiny bit spicier than normal. So this part of things gets skipped here. Next up, we have the functions that this file will be running through. This is fairly simple. I will not pretend to know 100% what each of these is doing. I believe this is purely for informational purposes. Preparing here, we're just setting some flags for the compilation, mainly the Rust compilation. Running cargo to get everything that we need. I believe this is the command that will take our source files from the Git, download it, and get to work there. And then finally, we're in the build function. This is something that will be in anything that needs to be compiled, or anything really that other than just, you know, running an install command. Again, we're setting some Rust flags here, and building it for release here. And again, like everything in here, by running make package, when we do that, you are consenting to these commands being written, being executed on your computer. And at a certain point, it will ask you for your root password or your sudo password in order to install it as well. So you need to be happy with everything that's here, strictly speaking. Finally, we just cd into our compiled code, and then we install, and this will just make it available across the system. So pretty straightforward make file here. We understand everything enough. We know that what we're getting is legit, so we can quit out of this and we can actually get going with the installation. The installation for AUR packages is the same. There are multiple steps that you can go through, which is detailed in the wiki article for the AUR, which I recommend you go through. You can do this in multiple stages, and then use Pacman yourself to do the final installation. But the simpler way, is to just run make package and then two flags, S and I. S will automatically grab dependencies, and I will automatically install at the end, which is essentially just running the pacman command, which is down here somewhere. The final command, pacman-u, and then pointing it to the package. So we just make package -si, basically yes in Italian, and run that. Now here we are grabbing the Git repository. Doesn't matter what version, by the way, that the AUR says a particular package is. If it's getting it from Git, you're getting the latest. And now we'll go through the process of compiling the Rust. Okay, that's compiled now. it took a little bit longer than I expected. That's why I don't compile things on this laptop. Now we're on the final stage. So the I flag that we passed is setting off this pacman update, or this pacman command that is going to install what we just compiled. So I'll give it authorization to do that. And then we just go through the normal process of installing. And now we're there. So if we search for Cosmic Player, Cosmic Media Player, there you are. And there it is. So I would say that wasn't a perfect way of doing it manually, but that is certainly kind of a reasonable way that I would, expect someone to manually install something from the AUR. And you can do that for everything that you install there. If you're maybe picking and choosing a little bit and you're not relying on it too heavily, then that's quite a reasonable way of doing things. The main problem I have is that the security you gain from having a bit more eyes on what you're installing and not relying on a helper to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, is that you risk being really out of date unless you're constantly redoing this process. You would have to go into, so let's say, in our software folder here, we could have, we would keep all these things checked out. We would need to keep them updated, keep pulling from the AUR Git, and reinstalling them, which is fine. We can do that, but there's nothing really helping us out, right? Being up to date with software, especially software that that you're installing kind of just at a random point in its development, is one of the most important security things you can do, because a lot of the time things that are being fixed are security vulnerabilities. So that's why I think helpers in this instance are a good idea, but it's also a good idea to go through this process once in a while, to snoop around on the AUR, to look at the packages, to look at maybe some things that you've been relying on for a while. Maybe dig into that and take a look and just see what's going on. But in reality, keep using things like Yay. Now, Yay is the only one that I use. I will quickly go through the process of installing it, because one of the reasons why I actually like helpers, one of their big advantages, is they themselves are AUR packages. So when you first install Linux, when you first install Arch, you need to go through the manual process with them. So they're almost like, it's almost like an entrance exam, and I think that's kind of cool. That's a good way of making sure that you kind of, at least to start with, know a certain amount of what you're doing and what's going on under the hood. So in this case, whoops, oh my word, I can't type. So once again, AUR, this is a fairly straightforward process that you can probably memorize the URLs most of the time, but in this case it's just aur.archlinux.org, yay. Git, we'll put this in our software directory again. Let's take a quick look at, oh my word, what is it? Package build. This should be relatively straightforward. This is so yeah, there we go. Yet another yogurt. That's what it stands for. Didn't know that. Interesting. So Pacman wrapper and AUR helper written in Go. So yeah, it doesn't just help with the AUR, it does help with Pacman as well. There's various nice little features that it's got, which I will show you shortly. Again, what it's asking for is fairly straightforward, and you can take a look here and just see exactly what's going on. I will install this. This will be significantly faster than compiling a Rust application. Make package C. most of the time spent here will be downloading various build requirements. And now we're done. So now we have Yay. So Yay, what Yay does now is it almost promotes the AUR into the same stack as you have with the other two official repositories, but only if you use Yay instead of Pacman. So for example, let's say if I was to do sudo pacman syu, which is the update, you're basically checking everything you've got. You're syncing all the packages, getting all the information, and then you're running the updates. This will show the process of going through. I think I've actually got three. Well, I've got the chaotic AUR. I'm not going to touch on that, but that is basically just compiled versions of the AUR. I use that because this laptop is slow. But here we see we've checked check core, check extra. Multilib is also an official one for 32-bit applications, usually used for gaming, and we can see that it's kind of it's found some updates here, which is interesting. Don't need to install them just yet, but a lot of these are coming from the chaotic AUR. So we'll not proceed with installation. If I just ran Yay on its own, that is the equivalent of running Pacman SYU, but with the additional step of checking the AUR, and also giving us a slightly nicer GUI here, because it's a little bit clearer about where everything is coming from. So we've got our one core thing, we've got a few extras, the multilib, and chaotic AUI is the one that is telling us, oh, Yay's updated. I don't know why it's trying to install that, but whatever. The main thing I love about Yay is just how easy it is to search. So let's say if I was to go Yay, we'll do GIMP again. So if I do Yay GIMP, I've not told it to do anything, but it will search through not just the AUR, but also all of the Arch repositories. So usually the most relevant one will be here in position 1. This is version 2 of GIMP in the extra repository. If we keep going, we'll see that there's various plugins or additional packages that often will just be installed as you install GIMP. If we keep going up and up and up, see, it doesn't push AUR stuff to you first. It will always give you the core and extra results first. So it's not trying to push the AUR onto you. If you scroll far enough, you will then start to find the AUR stuff. And here we have the GIMP Git repository from the AUR that we found earlier. So we could install this and get version 3. So we just simply put in a number and start installing from here. But the search is so good. It's similar to, say, sudo pacman ss, which is to sync and search. And you get a similar sort of search, but there isn't an easy way of then just saying, oh yeah, I want that one, pressing a number and going. So in general, Yay is really good. For searching, and also for keeping things up to date. Because when you run Yay, again, if we just ignore the chaotic AUR, I forgot this was on here, so that's kind of muddied the waters a little bit. But if we had any of our AUR packages other than Cosmic ready for an update, then we'd be able to just get it updated and not really have to think about going through the manual process. So yeah, to close, I think what is my point? Like, my point really is this. I understand the tendency of certain people to extol the virtues of doing things manually, whether it's installing Arch manually, compiling things from the AUR manually. Because what it does is it's like the older kind of the older attitude that people of my age, their parents would give them of understanding how a car works. Okay, if you understand what is happening when you press the clutch and when you change the gears. You don't need to have the knowledge to change a gearbox, but knowing what the gearbox is doing helps you be a better driver, because you then treat the gearbox with a particular respect because you know the mechanics of what's going on underneath. And I understand that. I understand that as a good philosophy to live by, and I think everyone should try to do that. The thing is that you can go too far the other way, and I think a lot of people that are saying you need to manually install Arch, you need to manually, like, don't use helpers for the AUR. You're getting more into the weeds. That you're getting more into the realm of people expecting you to know how to maintain your gearbox. You shouldn't have to know or maintain your gearbox in order to use a steering wheel, or to use the clutch, or to use the gearbox itself. There are layers there that you should be using. There are tools that you should be using. So I'm really coming down in the middle here, but this is definitely part of a wider topic that I'm stewing on, and a lot of people kind of address this as well. There's a lot of nonsense around Arch. A lot of nonsense. It comes from certain Arch users that want to be in an elite, a perceived elite that used to exist that maybe doesn't anymore, and they're trying to cling on to that. Arch is incredibly difficult and it's for advanced users and all of this. You have people on the outside that are wringing their hands about, oh, don't recommend Arch to new users. Oh, you're scaring them away. Oh, it's so terrible that people want to recommend Arch. It's so difficult. Perpetuating this ridiculous myth about it, and forgetting that new users are not just 70-year-olds that have come from Windows XP. A lot of people that are coming to Linux are people like me who are technically minded. They could be developers. They could be any level of person that are finally coming over for various reasons. This kind of wrapping new users in cotton wool, these imagined new users that you have dreamt up in your brain, by the way, is really tedious, and it really does perpetuate this ridiculous aura around Arch, because you have people creating the myth of going on about how obtuse it is and how difficult it is and how unwelcoming it is to new users, while at the same time mocking the perceived, the stereotypical Arch user of being smug about using Arch. It's like, pick a lane there. I just don't understand why this particular distro is kind of in this position, really, because there are loads that are exactly the same as it and that don't get this nonsense. But anyway, essentially, the AUI is a great tool. It's fantastic. It's got its downsides. It's got its security concerns, for sure. You should be aware of those things, just like you should with anything you install. All the main concerns that you could have about the AUR is you don't know who's packaging stuff. You don't know who's putting what in the install scripts or in the sources that you're building from. All of these things all apply to Flatpak as well. And Flatpak, you would not have anyone say, oh, you shouldn't be using GNOME software to install Flatpaks. You should be, inspecting every package with a microscope. No one would say that, but it is essentially the same thing, right? So, anyway, that's all for this video. I hope everyone had a lovely new year, and hopefully I will be kicking on strong this year with videos. Thank you to everyone that has popped in to see me so far. I'm very grateful for that, and I'm looking forward to welcoming more of you, hopefully, as we go. Okay, cheers, see you later.